When you think of Oscar-nominated writer and director Michael Mann, you probably go right to one or two titles. His pairing of De Niro and Pacino in the 1995 crime masterpiece Heat, or his first big hit with the James Caan-led caper film Thief. Even when you look past those two entries, you might come up with things like The Insider or Last of the Mohicans, but Mann is not usually associated with the horror genre. If you do associate him with that, it almost certainly falls to the first time we saw Dr. Hannibal Lecter in the gritty version of Red Dragon with Manhunter. Today, on the best horror movie you never saw, we discuss 1983's The Keep. The Keep is written and directed by Michael Mann, from the book of the same name, written by F. Paul Wilson, that was published just 2 years prior. The film follows a platoon of Nazi soldiers, led by Jürgen Prochnow, who plays their captain Klaus Wehrmann. They are looking to take control of the Carpathian Mountains and find a structure only known as the Keep. Two overzealous soldiers try to steal the silver crosses that adorn the inside walls of the structure, but are killed in rather explosive ways, and 5 more soldiers die in similar ways over the following days. The captain soon realizes that the Keep isn't meant to hold people out, but rather hold something in. Soon, after a squadron of particularly nasty SS troops led by the monster of a man named Kämpfer, played by the always reliable Gabriel Byrne, decides to take matters into his own hands, killing the guardians of the Keep and threatening the town shortly after. The movie continually sets up new characters that you think are going to be the central piece, when in truth, they all are. From the already mentioned Prochnow and Byrne to the seemingly out-of-place Robert Prosky, and a standout turn from Magneto himself, Ian McKellen, as a Jewish professor that the Nazis demand help with. Scott Glenn and Alberta Watson round out the star-studded cast, and if it seems like they all stand out in the crowd of this movie, it's because they do. The movie was trimmed by 100 minutes by the studios, with much of it hacking out Scott Glenn's character, who ends up being the good entity that battles the at first ethereal and eventually imposing pure evil that is Molasar. Molasar shows himself saving Watson's character, Ava, from being raped by 2 SS officers, and he brings her back to her father, Dr. Kuza. At first, Molasar thinks that McKellen's Dr. Kuza is working with the Nazi soldiers, but he is able to convince him that isn't the case, and Molasar helps repair his rapidly aged and diseased body before vanishing again. Molasar has multiple looks throughout the movie, and that is due to a couple of things. Reshoots are a necessary part of any production, and this was no different. What is different here is that the visual effects supervisor, Wally Weavers, died just 2 weeks into the post-production work. This was crucial, as he was the only one that knew how the visual effects of the movie were supposed to look. This even caused director Michael Mann to finish over 250 individual shots himself to get them right. Something that he was okay with doing anyways, as he had asked for so many changes in regard to Molasar in the first place. After saving his daughter and restoring his body, Molasar asks Kuza to take out the only thing keeping him behind these walls, an artifact that is old and powerful. As soon as Molasar has fully awakened, however, another mysterious entity, this one known as Glaken, here played by Scott Glenn, travels from Greece to the Keep to do battle with this force of evil. Wehrmann and Kämpfer have a heated debate on the crimes that their armies are committing, while the mere presence of Molasar's evil starts driving the remaining villagers crazy. Molasar kills the remaining Nazi and SS troops, and Kämpfer kills Wehrmann over his opinions before facing off against Molasar and suddenly becoming a coward. The way people get dispatched in this movie is a highlight, and really it falls on the shoulders of Alex Thompson's cinematography, the previously mentioned Wally Weaver, and the editing of Dove Honing. The victims usually explode, and you can see their souls, or whatever Nazis have in place of that, getting sucked out of the remains of their bodies. This is particularly impressive when you remember that Weavers died just after principal photography, so maybe we should be thanking Michael Mann here too. In addition to the special effects, Another standout performer wasn't another on-screen person at all. It was the soundtrack by German electronic band Tangerine Dream. Starting with their first big Hollywood score with William Friedkin's Sorcerer, they would go on to be the music behind productions both big and small across many genres. Things like Michael Mann's previous movie Thief, Tom Cruise's breakout Risky Business, classic teen comedy 3 O'Clock High, and many, many more have unforgettable music thanks to the contributions from this band. With The Keep, the music works in tandem with slow motion shots of characters on the way to fulfill their destiny or just give the overall atmosphere a much needed moody boost. The ending was supposed to be an epic, special effects heavy battle between good and evil. That say the good Glaken come out victorious after trapping Molasar in a portal, and then Glaken himself would be reborn again as a mortal man. But with the movie over budget and over schedule, Paramount absolutely refused to allow any more time or resources, and what we got was a truncated version of this where good and evil still clash. Dr. Kuza jumps in with an assist before being reverted to his weakened state. Molasar is defeated, and the villagers go back to normal before the movie just kind of ends. Overall, the film is a fantastic watch, but we're missing lots, and I mean lots, of content. The original version, Mann's preferred version, was a whopping 210 minutes long, but the studio said, heck no, we will give you 2 hours max. When that 2-hour cut failed with test audiences, the studio hacked that down to a much leaner 96 minutes, which did not make director Mann very happy. If you think that things end abruptly, or that you wanted a little more from the characters, then just know it was written and shot, but unfortunately, it was lost to time and studio meddling. A lot of it has been glimpsed too, as movie magazines of the time showed stills of various scenes that were either cut out completely or severely trimmed down to fit the runtime. Even earlier theatrical previews and TV spots had been made using one of the 2 longer cuts and included footage that moviegoers would not see when they actually sat down to watch the movie. The release of the film was also somewhat sabotaged by Paramount. In addition to slicing the movie up worse than a slasher villain does to teenagers, they released it mid-December of 1983 after its original release was pushed back due to production values. It happened to come out when Oscar hopefuls and crowd-pleasing films were running the market. Christine, Scarface, and Sudden Impact all debuted the week before, and Gorky Park and Silkwood came out the same week, not to mention a star-studded war movie in Uncommon Valor and a Mel Brooks release of his remake of the classic To Be or Not to Be. That kind of competition, combined with the limited screens that were given to The Keep, made it quite the flop at the box office, with it only pulling in just over $4 million on its $6 million budget. Reviews weren't doing the movie any favors either. Currently, it sits with 40% with critics and a 43% with audiences. The audience score speaks heavily to the fact that the movie was so far removed from what the original cut and Mann's vision of the film was. Critics of the time called it out for feeling incomplete, and Gene Siskel, who has been wrong from time to time, said, quote, "Stay away from The Keep, one of the most inaudible movies ever made. Oh sure, you can look at the pictures, but without the dialogue, it's going to be most difficult to figure out what's going on." For which he was calling out the incredible score from Tangerine Dream. Even the novel's author didn't care for it, calling it a visual spectacle, but failing to make any sense or capturing what he thought it should look like in visual form, even saying as much in the foreword to the graphic novel adaptation. So where can you watch this misunderstood and visually stunning movie? Well, that aspect of this particular movie may contribute to why this is seen by so few. The most recent physical release of the movie is VHS. If you want to get extra hipster, you can track down the Laserdisc version. But to date, there hasn't been a DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, or anything else. Don't expect that, or any kind of Snyder Cut version from Mann, who owns the right to the film. When asked about it in February of 2016, Mann said, quote, "No, we were never able to figure out how we were to combine all these components that were shot, pre-blue and green screen. That one's going to stay in its," before trailing off into a fog of his own sadness. Don't hold your breath on a release or a recut of the movie, but as of this writing, You can rent it for a couple of bucks off of Amazon Prime, or if you subscribe to the Criterion channel, you can stream it as part of their 80s horror collection. None of the people in front of or creators behind the camera struggle. Mann went on to be a multiple Academy Award nominee and create a ton of beloved films, while all the other actors either continued with illustrious careers or got their real start a few films after that. Underseen, underappreciated, and hard to find? Sounds exactly like something viewers of this channel are into. Seek it out any way you can, because while the movie, in its current state, isn't what everyone involved wanted, it's a unique and thoughtful horror experience that deserves to be seen. So everyone can wonder, what could have been, while enjoying it for what it turned out to be. Because The Keep may just be the best horror movie you never saw.